Hey YouTube fans, it's Frank from Cruising with Wheels. Today we're going to do another episode from Tales from the High Seas. Now, it's a follow-up story of what happened from our February cruise aboard the NCL Gem. Now, in a previous video, I believe it's episode 5, we talked about our encounter with the food and beverage director, Vikram. And we had a nice conversation with him when we got back for lunch. We were in St. Thomas, cruising around the island, and we came back and we went up to the Garden Cafe. And as we rolled in, he was standing there with one of his executive chefs and the hostess, and we kind of got to talking, and we told them who we were, and we told them we were, YouTubers, and we were talking about the food and the restaurants, and he suggested that we eat at La Cucina, which we had told him on a prior cruise we didn't have a good experience with the food. But at his suggestion, because they had revamped all the menus, we were like, okay, we'll try it out. So that night we went to La Cucina, and it was an interesting event. It had the highs, it has the lows. It was kind of a roller coaster of an evening. And I wanted to talk to you about what happened that night. So we had I think it was a 7 o'clock reservation, and we got there, and they sat us in a corner in a table for two, and the tables are back there, and these tables for two are very close together. So Kevin and I are sitting there in the corner, and I mean, probably not even like 2 feet away is another table for two, and next to that another table for two, and then another table for two. It's not a very wide restaurant, and if you've seen our video, which we've already posted on our YouTube channel, you will see La Cucina and how it's set up. It's very long and narrow. So we're back here in the corner, table for two. So we get there, and Kevin sits, and I roll in as they take the chair away for me so I can get to the table. And we're like, oh, this is really nice. I'm so excited because, Vikram said the food was really good. So we're there, and they start with the usual, bring the water, bring the bread, and there's a couple seated right there next to us. And the guy is really loud, and he's just, and he's going on, and we're thinking, oh my God, why would you be that loud? I mean, you're in a restaurant with other people. Why do you have to be loud and obnoxious? And he just kept getting louder and louder and worse. And then to make matters worse, he has to turn to the table next to him and introduce himself and say, hi, I'm so-and-so, the loudmouth, obnoxious idiot of the restaurant. Yeah, I know. People tell me I'm really loud. And he's just going crazy. Well, now they're talking together, and the noise is getting even worse. And I'm like, Kevin and I, we can't even hear ourselves think, let alone talk to each other. So when the waitress comes over, Kevin says to her, listen, you're going to either have to tell them to tone it down and lower their voices, or we need to go to another table. And so I stopped them right there and I said, no, listen, you need to move us to another table, because I am not going to go through this again at another time, sitting in a restaurant of which we're paying extra money for, and not be able to enjoy our meal because we've got some loudmouth couple, less than 2 feet next to us, who doesn't know about the term inside voices. So I looked at her and I said, we need to be moved. I said, because if you can't control what goes on in your restaurant, I said, that's a problem. I said, and I'm just ready to roll out of here because I'm not paying for this. So immediately the restaurant maitre d' comes over. His name was Dennis, and he said, hi. He said, listen, we're going to move you to another table. Not a problem. And I said, okay, thank you. That would really be great. So immediately, I unlock my wheelchair. Kevin gets up, and we roll over, and they put us at a table. It's a 4-seater table. It was right off of the kitchen entrance, which was fine, but it was right there, and there were a couple other tables. So much quieter. There were 2 ladies at the table next to us, and then next to them was another couple, and it was a very quiet area. And I thought, oh, thank God, this is so much better. Oh, we're really going to be able to enjoy ourselves. So Dennis says, is this okay? And I said, yes, this is fine. We seem to be in a nice quiet area with nice quiet neighbors. So that's fine. So they brought the menus and re-brought the water and re-brought the bread. And Kevin and I were kind of perusing the menu, wondering what we were going to get. And all of a sudden, there's a table across from us on the other side of the restaurant, and it was a table of like 6 or 8 people, and it just erupted, this crazy laughter and this cackling. And I went, oh, another fun table. But I was like, it's over there. Who cares? We're on the other side of the restaurant. Well, Dennis, the restaurant manager, immediately comes running over, and he's like, is everything okay? Are they being too noisy? I said, well, no. I said, they're on the other side and we're over here, and it's not bad at all. So I'm just happy we're here. Well, just as I finished saying that, the table, this one lady who seemed to be the instigator and the catalyst of the group erupts in this major atomic laughter that she could have blown out the windows. And she was like, and the lady next to her, and she seemed to be feeding off of her, erupted, and the 2 of them were like really a toxic mix. And they just kind of blew the whole restaurant wide open with their noise. And I looked at Dennis, and then I went, oh, that's a little crazy. I go, yeah, now that's just, I said, that's out of control. So he went over there, and he was there for about 5 minutes, and he could see him motioning, and he was talking to them, and I think he was telling them, you need to tone it down. It's really, really loud, and there's other guests here, because I could hear the crazy lady going, well, who was complaining? What? Who? And she thought it was a big old joke. And nobody, people, we're there to have a good time, and I know they're there to have a good time, and that's fine. But when you start interrupting everyone else's meal with your obnoxiously loud noise, that's not right. We're there to have a good experience. We've paid our money too, just like you have. And it's not fair for you to interrupt our experience. And he was, looked like he was nicely trying to explain. And the people in her group were like totally red-faced and embarrassed. And they were like shushing her. And she was like, well, who's complaining? Well, and they were like, shush, come on, be quiet, shush. So they kind of quieted down, but then she would start cackling again. And then the lady next to her, who was feeding her was like, and adding fuel to the fire. And the rest of her group was like, quiet, shh, be quiet, shh, shh. And they kept doing it over and over, shushing her. And so, we were like, as long as they weren't like blowing out the windows, we were fine. So Kevin and I ordered our dinner. And I started out which was rolled up eggplant stuffed with sausage in a red sauce. And then I followed it with a classic Caesar salad. And then I had this chicken dish. It was kind of rolled up chicken stuffed with something. I don't remember what it was. And then I finished with a dessert of my favorite lemon ricotta cheesecake, which I had the last time we were here on the Gem in 2015. Now Kevin, he had his caprese salad he started with. Then he had the classic Caesar, which we always seem to have because it's really awesome. And then he had a polenta with mushrooms and a mushroom sauce, which he wanted to try. Now, Kevin does not like mushrooms, but he wanted to try it. Then his main course, he had gnocchis, which is what Vikram had suggested. But instead of with the pesto sauce, he had it with the red pomodoro sauce. And then for dessert, he had this chocolate torte, which really looked really great. And when we got to the dessert, we always like, oh, let me taste this, let me taste that. So I have to tell you that it was the best dinner ever. I mean, it was really, really good. And I'm telling you, the next time we go on a cruise and we eat at La Cucina, I swear to God, I'm going to order 3 plates of the eggplant stuffed with the sausage and the sauce, because it was so good. I think it was a plate of like two rolls of them, and I swear I'm going to have like at least 3 or 4. They were so good. So we were enjoying and kind of finishing up the dessert, with our coffee, and then Dennis comes over, and he says to us, "Listen, I just want to tell you that your meal is comped. We're paying for it." And we were like, "Say what?" And he said, "Yes, I made a call, and I think he called Vikram. And Vikram must have told them, comp their meal." Because, we had the conversation with him about how we didn't enjoy it the last time 2 years ago at La Cucina, but, based on his advice, we came tonight to eat. And so Vikram told Dennis, go ahead and comp their meal. We'll pay for it. And I thought, how nice. Unbelievable. I mean, that was just something that we just totally unexpected. Now, what I didn't tell you was that earlier in the day when we met him at the Garden Cafe and introduced ourselves, I didn't tell you that while we were eating lunch, Vikram had delivered to our stateroom this beautiful platter. It was a chocolate sculpture platter. This beautiful chocolate sculpture with all these chocolate candies and a bottle of red wine. It was gorgeous. So after we left lunch and we were out on deck, and I think Kevin and I decided we were going to play cards, Kevin went back to the room to get my journal and to get some playing cards. And when he got there, there was a tray with this beautiful chocolate sculptured platter and a bottle of wine and a card from Vikram, the food and beverage director. So during our meal at La Cucina, Kevin went up and got the bottle of wine and brought it back to dinner, and they uncorked it for him, and Kevin enjoyed some red wine with dinner. And we were able to bring that wine with us at every dinner after that to whatever restaurant we were. So thank you, Vikram. We love you. And we wrote him a really nice thank you note. We put in his mailbox for the beautiful platter, chocolate platter, and the bottle of wine, and the free meal at La Cucina that he gave to us. And that's just the kind of service and what kind of officers they have in the NCL fleet, and especially on the NCL GEM. And so, we got there on a high, excited to be eating at La Cucina, and then kind of roller coaster down to the crazy people who were out of control, roller coaster down with that nonsense, and then roller coastered back up to being moved to another table in a quieter area to a free meal. It was up and down all night, but in the end, it was a great experience. So I'm glad to be able to tell you this. My new Episode 7, Tales from the High Seas, on behalf of Kevin and myself from Cruising with Wheels. Don't forget to travel safe and cruise often. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.